what is this actually doing for me, like on a personal level?
And the people that were being racist were more than likely cheering those people on.
But-
I can't.
Am I missing out on something important here? Will I regret not watching this? Should I get a bit more involved?
General disappointment. You just have to take each day as it comes and just do what you can.
I just need to say the pitch of our own lives is by far and away the cheesiest thing you have said in 2.5 years of this podcast. Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast, as always with my very bestest amigos, Jose Noya and Ryan Boniface. How are we doing this week, guys?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, good, Lee. Thanks very much.
You're getting better, Joe. Your lag is slower. You're not having the big gap like
I'm a bit close to the
reporter.
UK, a bit close to the UK this week, so it's not so much delay.
I like it. Globetrotter Jose Noya.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening. Join us on Instagram 8:30 every single Tuesday, there or thereabouts, on YouTube, and of course on any podcast platform. And check us out on social media at ListenToIN, ListenToIN. Right, this week, as we like to mix up our subjects, Joe is the subject master this week. It's a more traditional format. So what are we going with this week, Joe?
I love the old traditional format. I love that.
Back in the olden days when Joe picked all the subjects.
Is that a voice now? Anyway, I better go on with it. Yeah, so this week we're talking about the England game and what happened.
I can't.
You can. Yeah, you can. You can talk about this and what actually happened, because this was difficult, but all it is, what we're talking about today is how you recover from disappointments, the heartache, all that, and how have you taken it? You know, how have you taken it? You know, people around the country, how they taken it, but how do you recover from disappointment? Not only about the England team, but personal disappointments. And I think, you know, we all got excited about it. We all sort of really got up, you know, we wanted to win that final, and then it all crashed down. So today is about how we feel about that and how can we recover from disappointments in our own lives, right? And I'm going to give you my perspective on this now. Now, I must have been taking a step back from football for quite a bit of time, but I got really into it. I thought, well, I'm going to watch the football this year, and I started getting really excited. Got into got through the table, got to the quarterfinals, really played well, semi-final. I was getting into it, but I was thinking to myself, what is this actually doing for me, like on a personal level? You know, what is it actually giving to me? And I think, well, yeah, okay, I get a bit of joy if England won it, I'll be really happy. But then what? You know, what's going on in my life? You know, how is this going to help me? And I want to get your view on how this sort of thing helps you personally on a personal level. For me, I'm not sure whether it makes much of a difference. I mean, I'm going to go through my life. If England won or lost, really in reality, for me personally, I don't think it makes any sort of difference to my life. In fact, it makes me happy with that moment. Then it's done, and then I'm moving on with my life, right? So that was really my thought on it. And I did a bit of a blog about it because I thought, well, you know, I think we should be concentrating on the pitch of our own lives, right? Getting on the pitch of our own lives and getting our goals and our dreams and recover from our disappointments. But I think what we can take from this particular episode is that how the England team have responded to that disappointment. I know there's been, you know, some terrible things in the media, what's happened, and some idiots in the media, and that's been bad. But like, now how do we, you know, support each other? How we can support the team, you know, be better, but also ourselves, and step into our own lives and make sure that we recover from disappointment, and how we do it, and no, don't get so, you know, so emotionally attached, and know that it's like they said. I think I heard Harry Kane or one of them say that it's actually, you know, they're going to learn, right? They're going to learn from this. They learned from the last one. They got through to the semi. They got through to the semis, and now got to the final. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So I just wanted to get your take on it. So Ryan, I know you didn't want to talk about it, so I'm going to come to you first. I'm not sure that's fair, but let's have your thoughts.
Can I just interject quickly, and I'll give Ryan a second, that I just need to say the pitch of our own lives is by far and away the cheesiest thing you have said in 2.5 years of this podcast.
I love it. In fact, that is the better. The cheesier, the better. You know I love a bit of cheese, Lee.
You do, and that is the pinnacle of your cheese.
Hashtag this on your social media. I forgot what I said. It is.
Best to leave it there and go back to Ryan.
This is the pitch of your life, right? Step onto that, you know, step onto your pitch and get your glory. That's what I want people to do. Ryan.
I haven't quite processed it yet.
Yeah, go on.
Did I have expectations of winning the final? No. Did I have hope of winning the final? Yes. By far, I don't want to get too technical about football, but by far Italy were the best team in the tournament from start to finish by a long way. They were very good the entire time. Yes, we did well. We only conceded 2 goals in the entire event, and blah 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 blah. There are elements of our game that were very good, but overall, they played the best football and they were the best team in the event. And from a neutral point of view, deserved to win it. I think, as a football fan and as an England fan, my entire life, I was born in '95, so the Southgate penalty miss of '96 I was unaware of, but prior to that, we've never been in an event in my lifetime that's been close. We've had eras of great footballers that should have done better. There's always been this hubbub around England and the football they play. So this was, for me, the first time that it could happen. So I think in that sense, I'm not quite over the fact that we didn't get there, because in my head, like, the hopeful person in me was like, there's no way we can't win. But obviously that's obviously a biased view. I think more than anything, overall, I'm just disappointed in the minority of people that have caused issues on social media and around, etc. Those players gave everything every game, and the people that were being racist were more than likely cheering those people on when they scored goals and put us into the position we got in. So it's unfair in any sense to just turn on them like that, but it's even more unfair and ridiculous to even say it has anything to do with their race or heritage. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. I'm an Arsenal fan, so one of the penalty takers, Saka, plays for my team. He's 19 years old and he's taken a decisive penalty in a European Cup final. What were you doing when you were 19? Joe probably can't even remember that far back.
Thanks, Ryan.
No worries, mate.
I was playing football, by the way.
Joe was working in the cotton mills, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a Victorian urchin.
Like, it's just... It's beggars belief that people can be like that, especially in any age, but especially now when it's just so prevalent and fresh in people's minds, and other parts of social media quite rightly thrash it down your throat that these things are happening and that they're issues. So I'm just, as always at international football, I'm disappointed to be an England fan. We have the worst reputation in the world for being fans abroad. And we live up to that even at our own home events and things like that. So it's tough, I think. The result itself and a bit more on point, I'll get over it. But it's just important to remember that that's the, as you said, Joe, we got to the World Cup semi-final a couple of years ago and we got to the final here. Questionably, you could say we're the most informed team in the world. Like, we've got to the semi-final of the World Cup, and then the next one we got to the final of the Euros. You could argue that over the last 5 years, we've been the most successful international team on the planet. Really, you could make that argument whether we won it or not. We've done combined the best, I think. So, I haven't really gotten over it at this stage, but that's because I think I hoped too much. And those that are of the generation before mine may say, that's what I've had to do my entire life, and you get used to England letting you down and things like that. But it didn't feel like that this time. It felt like it was our time in a way. But I just think you just have to take each day as it comes in terms of getting over the disappointment. I know we're probably going to get a bit more hypothetical now. Like, it's only a football tournament. I'm not heartbroken and going to cry in my bed for the next few weeks or whatever. But I think in terms of general disappointment, you just have to take each day as it comes and just do what you can, what makes you feel positive, until you kind of emotionally get over it.
Yeah, because I know Ryan, we talked about before, and sort of relating to the disappointment, and it was disappointing, but also on a personal level. You say take it one step at a time, and of course you talked about your role before, didn't you? And how you were disappointed before about your leadership and how that was going. But what's happened right now? From what then, and how did you deal with that? And now, is that anything relatable to what you're talking about?
I just think it's life experience, isn't it? It's without trying to sound cheesy like Joe did, you could compare it to a relationship breakup, like that disappointment and the hopefulness that you felt for your future or for England's future or for whatever is something that you have to think about, and you have to realise that things didn't go your way, it didn't go England's way, and that's how it is. You just have to take closure from the situation and emotionally move on, when you're ready, I guess.
Yeah, it's not cheesy at all. I think it's really good.
Okay, there's no real comparison between a relationship breakdown and England not winning the Euros, but if there was, that's probably where I think it would sit.
It depends how close you are to, you get different levels of support, team supporters. So for some people, it will probably feel like that. It will feel really terrible, really terrible. There'll be different degrees, I suspect.
Yeah.
And that's, for you said you still couldn't process it, so it's pretty high up on where your emotional state is. For me, it's not that. I was disappointed at the time, but I've quickly moved on from it, and life comes on. But should we get Lee on this? Shall we?
So I wasn't interested in the football tournament whatsoever. So I'm not sure how much perspective on that I can add. I've been in and out with it, but I just didn't really strike me at all. I didn't even really keep up when the fixtures were. What was interesting, though, is on the day of the final, as you guys know, I was up in Scotland, so the upper end of the country from where I normally reside, visiting my kids, fly up there. So I was flying back down on the Sunday when it happened, and I was in the airport. I had the game on the TV, as you would expect. Number of people flying back down to England who were very keen to see the game. Number of Scottish people who were less keen to see the game. Everyone in good spirits, though. And actually, I was sitting in the airport lounge area, just near where one of the bars were. In fact, uploading our most recent interview onto the podcast platform that we use and doing a bit of social media posting. And the TV was on and I could hear the crowd. And it was there's a very distinctive crowd noise when it's a big event that isn't just an everyday noise. And I was a bit like, oh, am I missing out on something important here? Will I regret not watching this? Should I get a bit more involved? And I went into the bar and got something to eat and a beer, and I could see half of the TV from where I was because I didn't have a very good seat. And I got into it a bit, just I think getting sucked up in the atmosphere of it all. My flight was during the second half of the game. So when I landed, actually the first thing I did was flip on my phone to see what the score was. And it was during penalties. And during the entirety of us waiting to get off the plane, without even looking at my phone, I could tell what's happening by the reactions of everyone else on there as well. But once it was over, I didn't feel disappointments as such, I suppose. I'd probably have regretted it more if England did win and I kind of missed the whole thing, as opposed to they didn't and I just kind of observed it from the sidelines.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I really like this perspective because, you've got me sort of half in. I'm more like, oh, well, I'll just catch it. I'll get into it. You've got Ryan fully in. You've got Lee. Well, I'll just do it. But it's interesting to see, what the levels are depending on the emotional investment you have in a particular thing. That maybe England winning really has for me, it's no direct effect on my life apart from the emotion. Like the fact that they win is not going to shift my life forward. It just might make it a little bit of a great atmosphere out there in the world. But really, in terms of actually impacting me, I don't feel anything. But the whole thing about this, I just want to talk about our personal things and moving forward. So, for Ryan, that whole thing about how we move to appointment now. But you, Lee, for you, I wasn't invested. So that doesn't really affect me at all. I'm just moving on. I'm just cracking on. It's no real effect on it. And for all those England fans out there, you're going to have England fans that are absolutely invested in it. They're going to find it really difficult, and they're going to be ones that aren't. But also, But I just realised there could be this thing about you're so invested that you forget about other things, and it's almost like a bit of escapism. And then you get this
Absolutely
back down to earth, and you go, well, how am I going to get through this now? I've got to deal with this real life world problem. I've had this great high. So how do we move through that? And I think Ryan's advice about just taking each day as it comes and making sure we take action on that, one step at a time. Said these things before, that you step onto the pitch of your life. That's what I think I want people to do.
We've never said that before, and after today, we are not saying it again.
Agreed.
Hashtag step onto the pitch of your life, and we carry on, right? God, I'll let you guys talk.
But I think you're right. And the wider thing of disappointment, obviously, we all have that. And I think now, like Ryan, and he says, you just got to move on. And I am now at this stage of my life, I think, a very pragmatic and practical person. So we talked about this before on podcasts. I move on quite quickly, and you just, if you give up on something, you've decided yourself. Whatever happens, whatever knockback you get on whatever you're trying to do, there's another step you could take. And if you choose not to, that's on your choice. So I see it that you just got to keep kind of pushing on each little step at a time. When I was a lot younger, I think I found that a lot more difficult to do. I think I would give up a lot easier. And I think it's a mix of that kind of confidence and probably a bit more of an immature reaction to disappointment, if you like, to almost hide away from it. But I think as time's gone on, I've learned that does, you write your own outcome then. Whereas if you keep pushing, in whatever you're trying to do, you'll get a lot further than you would have if you didn't try. I can't remember who it was now. I think it might have been from Bill Gates. I saw something from him, and he talked about the amount of companies that had turned him down on some of his ideas before someone said yes. And if he'd have given up after the first or the second, or going by the numbers, I'm going to say the 50th knockback, look what wouldn't have happened. And actually, all those knockbacks, all those disappointments, all the things that went wrong, both are, like Ryan said earlier, learning, but also they're irrelevant once you get the yes, once you get the success, once you deliver what you want to deliver, once you get the outcome, whatever it is, all of that stuff that came before it is just the journey to get there.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because people tend to see that success part we talked about before, and they don't see the hard work that goes underneath. I think we said this before about, every no is percentage of the next yes, isn't it? It's that whole continue to persevere in the face of adversity. So any recent disappointments you've had? I know we talked about hard times before, but this is, I suppose, it's like just disappointments that you've had those setbacks. And it might be not one big thing, but might be sort of continual, like you said, tried it, it didn't work, tried it, didn't work, tried it, didn't work. And you come back, and I know there's people that I've spoken to that have had that have gone for, not Ryan in this case, but gone for leadership positions, and they tried it. I know someone that I've helped coach, and they went for leadership positions 6 times, and the 6th time they got it, and it's like an amazing journey, honestly. And things like that. So that's that disappointment, going for getting rejected, and you think, well, I'll just keep trying and keep going. And again, I think that support's important. But I don't know what your thoughts on it, guys.
I think before I jump on that, I'd like to think that I'm quite a pragmatic person, going back to what you said, Lee. But I think because it was the first time that I've been in that position, like if you two were big football fans, you would have had 96, maybe 1990.
And I was more in it then, and it made me remember. 96, I remember vividly, and the feelings of this is it, this is our time, this is our chance. It was the first time that Three Lions came out, which has been re-released so many times. It's unbelievable. I still like it, by the way. But I do remember being a lot more involved in it then than now. And there is an aspect that, because of that, the whole this is it, this is the time is a bit like, that's what we say every time. Whereas, like you said, Ryan, it's more of a first go round on that loop, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think because it's the first time that I've suffered that emotional pain, if you like, it's not that it's taken me a while to acknowledge it. I think it's just it's hard to be pragmatic about something that you've not experienced before. I'd like to think I'm quite pragmatic because I've done the things I do. I've done for a long time. So there isn't much that comes along that I've not done. Like work-wise, for example, there aren't many things that appear that I've not done in the role that I kind of do. So or did do for the last few years. So it's I think when it's like the first time, it's a bit different, isn't it? So it's when you get your heart broken for the first time, you could compare it to, again, if you're going back to that kind of thing. But it's difficult the first time. but then it gets a bit easier every other time afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is true. I was going to say part of the skill, if that's the right word, around bouncing back from disappointment is your level of resilience. But you have to build up your level of resilience by going through things. Which is like I say, I'd have dealt with it a lot different before. And I've had, Joe, back to you asking for examples. Obviously, you guys are still here every week, so I've not had my heart broken, so that's good. But I've had, and I talked to you about this, Ryan, kind of after hours in the office. That I've been knocked back for more jobs than I've been successful in going into. And that's largely all kind of internal where I am. It's a large organisation, and over the years I've gone up a number of places, but I've been turned down for more things than I've been successful in. But again, it's about not giving up and picking up. And that's not a recent example, Joe. That's things that have happened over the last 12 years or so. And have got to that, say, good place. But there's been a lot of that over the years that actually now, like Ryan, like we talked about, is good experience to be able to share with other people as well. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of those times I didn't see that when it was happening, but I know that now. And I think that will help me in the future to be able to deal with things as and when they happen.
I think it's just emotional maturity, isn't it? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Have I had any recent disappointments? I mean, I'm perfect, so it's difficult.
Is your current YouTube ranking a disappointment?
No, because I didn't see myself in a competition in the first place. You're the only one that's made a competition out of it.
Whoa. Now, we talked about this. Inspiration Nation is out there. Head over to YouTube, just search Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation. See the face of Lee and click on it and help the cause, because we're in a quiet little competition to see whose video on the front of the thumbnail gets the most views. And I think you'll find, Ryan, that Joe absolutely started this competition. Me being a supportive teammate and buying into the competition and getting involved, and you being an equally supportive teammate are propping us up so that we feel better about our positions.
So basically, you're saying it's Joe's fault.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't think of anything that I've done or tried that I've been disappointed in, but I think that's probably COVID related. But not much is really happening, is it?
That's true. I was going to say, because I haven't got many I can think of recently, but everything's kind of in a bit of a quieter routine, or certainly has been for the last 18 months, hasn't it?
There's not much like work-wise, that's project-wise, that people are bounced off the walls of. Before COVID, I was in more projects than I was days in the office, and that was good fun. And these things stopped because of COVID and stuff, and that happens. So disappointments and knockbacks and personal things and things like that have kind of been on pause for the past 18 months. So I don't really have anything that I can say I've had any recent disappointments that I can bounce myself back on, to be perfectly honest. I'm not saying my life's perfect or anything like that by any means, but there's nothing that I'm trying to do that I'm failing to implement at this stage.
You're friends with us, though, so it's pretty good.
On occasion.
What about yourself, Jose?
Yes, so I just wanted to say a shout out quickly to the booksters. Andrea, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. So we did a bit of a live with Andrea. She's got a great Instagram. Go check it out. Booksters Club does lots of book reviews. Great, it's really good. Funny videos as well, which are great. But I've got a serious message. It's always good. So go check out Andrea on the Booksters Club. Awesome. So for me, disappointment-wise, I suppose for me, it was I had a previous role, and Lee and Ryan to some degree will do that. I just wasn't very successful in the role that I was in, and I talked about it before, and that was a disappointment. And having to take a step back, I suppose, and start from the ground up, and I found that difficult. But I think I know I agree with Ryan. It all comes from emotional. Having that emotional resilience and emotional experience, I think, because you've got to go through difficult times and your initial reaction is going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. And then you've got to deal with it. And I had a hard time, and it was difficult, and I was very disappointed. But I went off and I did something about it. And so that was difficult. There's been times, in my role where I wanted to do things and things haven't quite worked out. I had a hard project and I thought, I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. And then I was disappointed, but I got some feedback, right in the middle of a project, really essential project. It was really like I felt I'm just not going to make it, and it was just right. I was got to push through it. And actually, I had a coach, and my coach really helped me, and we pushed through it, and we got through it together. So look, just what's the smallest thing you can do? What can you do about that right now? Right, I can do this. And I always believe that almost like there's almost like for me is like it's a rule. Whatever I think for disappointment, the answer is always action. What is the thing you can do? What is the smallest thing you can do to just get back onto the track? Just to get back instead of, and you can have a pity party, right? You can have a pity party, and sometimes we need a pity party. Maybe we do have to have that. Oh, I just need to wallow for a bit. But in this project, I just couldn't afford to do that. So I had to get back on it. And I found for me, what worked for me, and I'm hoping I know this will work for you as well, but it depends on what level is what we're talking about here. But it's just taking the smallest action you can do to move forward. What can you do right now? What is in your control? We talked about, if this is something I can't do anything about, leave that. What is it you can do something about, and do that right now, and use that as the fuel to do it, and use the disappointment actually to fuel you to do better. And that's what I'd say for that. And that for me is the things that I would say, Lee and Ryan, on my side of things. Any thoughts?
I like it, Joe. I like it. They're good thoughts. And it's like you said, it's that learning. It's taking on board what's happened and using that to make yourself better and to improve and to keep going. And I think it does. Well, it will work out.
It's the hard bit. Taking on board is the hard thing, though, isn't it?
That's absolutely.
No. Go on, you're going to say, Lee.
No. It is the difficult bit, but I think being able to absorb that and take it on ultimately is what is better for you as a person.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can be difficult, right? It can be difficult to accept that, like the feedback. You think, I've done it all wrong. You can get those thoughts about, I'm no good, just quit. You can do all that, and then you just need someone to you need to regather and think and reflect and go, okay, so what can I do? What could I do? And I think that's the power. Absolutely. But it's hard in those emotional moments. But it's that, like Ryan said, it's that emotional resilience, emotional experience. I think, and I know people talk about it, like emotional experience. You may not have had that particular way of it happening. It's how you bounce back from that.
That's it. And like you said, it might be feedback you get from someone. It might be something that doesn't go the way you go to it. Think, like moving house. If you're looking to buy a house and you go and see something and you really like it and you make an offer and it falls through and it's like, that's, you were set. I wanted that. That's where I'm going to be. And then it all falls through. But inevitably, somewhere else comes along and that becomes the place and you just keep going. And I think that's quite a good, again, where you can get those disappointments and you can just give up or you can keep going, and I think it's one of those examples of what's meant to be will be.
And I think there's a lot around belief around this as well. There's got a big belief in yourself, and like about the house example, you believe there'll be another offer. There will be. Like when we say, I've missed out on an offer, I've missed out on this house, there will be another house. It's just, there will be. There's no question. It's just whether you believe it or not, or whether you're looking for it, because whatever you look for, you will find. If you don't believe there's going to be another, there won't be, because you'll be so fixated on the problem that you won't be looking at the opportunity. And in fact, there was, I don't know where I saw it. There was something that was talking about, going in the right direction. We talked about it before, but whatever you aim for, you're going to hit. So talk about skiing and looking at trees, and this, the way the skiers avoid trees is that they look for the path instead of looking at the trees. Because if you look for trees, you're going to hit trees. But if you look for the path, you'll find the path, right?
I like that. Right, before I wrap us up, I've got an example for you. There is something recent. So I'm, at the moment, in my spare time, I'm teaching myself to day trade. And sometimes quite intensive, sometimes a bit slower. And that is one of the big disciplines I have to learn is not to chase. When something goes wrong, is to not dig a bigger hole by chasing it. And that's where that emotion kicks in, that disappointment, that didn't go well. And it's about being able to just draw a line under it, put that completely to one side, and don't let that influence your next thing. And I've gone through a lot of training myself, and they're still not there where I need to be, but a lot of understanding that emotion and dealing with it and being able to compartmentalize it off. But that, doing that does come with a lot of disappointment in very small little events that can feel very big at the time.
I like that, because that is the emotional buttons, isn't it? It's
yes, 100%.
That's really good, because you actually could probably apply that across to other things. So you'll get used to that emotional rush. You go, okay, well, I've dealt with this before. How can I manage this better? Oh, I've done this before. And your brain gets used to that. Oh, I've managed this before. And then I can, think about it more clearly, compartmentalise, as you said, because I think, so Ryan said he can compartmentalise quite well, and I find that quite difficult because I've got to really be aware of those emotions. So that having that piece of, almost like that piece of that trigger for you, sounds like it's a real challenge.
Well, and I've been working on that a lot throughout doing it, and it's really interesting to kind of see the change in myself as I'm kind of keeping records and stuff as I'm doing, of really managing that and running it through. So that's a good example of where it can happen, and like you said, really having to work on that cycle really quickly, or knowing where to just step away from a bit to let that run through and then come back again.
Be nice to see how maybe you come back and how you've grown. Like, you've got records, right? So you're writing records. It'd be interesting, like, come back and say, how did you deal with that? And
that might make a good episode in the future. Right, I'm gonna have to do my job and call us on time, guys. So any final comments?
No, not from me.
No, not from me, Lee. You're all good.
Cool. The nation out there, please head over inspirationnation.org.uk, merchandise, coaching service, all that good stuff. It's all there. Sign up for Joe's newsletter. If you like what you're hearing, like what we're doing, leave us a review, shout out to friends and family, get more people to listen. Our organic growth is growing week on week, and it's you guys out there that are making it happen. So we really, really do appreciate that. Joe, what have we learned from this week? Let's wrap them up and then we will close the show.
You got the secret, Brand. Yeah, the biggest takeaway. So what's the biggest takeaway? Has anyone got a biggest takeaway before I jump in? And I might leave myself a short.
I'm not that fussed about football.
So, okay. We got another one, Lee? Come on. Let's get some value, guys. Come on.
Take each day as it comes.
Oh, I like that. Each day as it comes. Yeah, I like that.
One day at a time.
To echo it, but with slightly different words, small steps.
Small steps. And mine is that rejection is really around that rejection. If you have a no, it's percentage of the next yes. I know I've said it before, but I think it's a really important point that every no is building that resilience. It's almost like a bit of legal, it's day trading, getting that disappointment, but actually working through it so you build that resilience muscle. And what Ryan was saying, once you experience it, you know how to deal with it. Action is the best form to deal with disappointment. Always take action, and that can be mine. There you go.
Love it, Joe. Love it. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening. We've just uploaded another fantastic interview. It's the episode before this. If you think you've got a story to tell, reach out, contact us through social media at the website. We would love to do an interview with you. You can pick which one of us wonderful people, Lee, you want to conduct that interview with. Right, I'll count us down now, guys. 3, 2, 1. Inspiration Nation.
Catch you guys
later.
So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with Inspiration Nation in the comments below, and make sure you commit to action. So you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here. So go check them out. And also, don't forget to subscribe, because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you right over there.